have you seen the film?
Yes.
So you know that, how difficult it was to get them into the studio to record new music. And yesterday they announced that they are now making a new record.
It's such a surprising yet unsurprising thing, because when we used to hear about farewell tours 20 years ago, we would all go, oh, it's the end. I got to see them. I remember seeing a-ha on their last tour, 2009 in New York, something like that. And obviously it wasn't the last tour, but, no fault to the bands for not wanting to give up a career that's rewarding, that makes people happy,
Definitely. And it wasn't a big surprise to me either, but it seems they need, or at least Magne needs a break every now and then for around 5-6 years, and then they're on again.
So I really like what you did with this documentary. I read that kind of Let It Be inspired it, in that you wanted to see the behind the scenes of what it's like with a big band trying to make an album. And that's not exactly what this wound up being per se, but I'd have to assume that you're very happy with the end result, more happy than some of the band members are, though.
Well, two of the band members are very happy, and I think the last one is happy now because the film has been so well received, and is selling all over, and everybody's saying that they will listen more to a-ha after seeing the film, which was both my main goal and I'm sure also at least the management for the band.
Yeah,
and I think for the ones that weren't that happy at first, I think it's gradually changing. Also, I mean, even the family around the ones that didn't love it so much loved the film. So I think that's fine now. And let's see if I'm really curious about what's going to happen now with this new album.
Yeah, absolutely. As an American, to make everything about the United States, lamely, we grow up to think as big music fans that a-ha had 2 or 3 big hits and that was that. And then you speak to people from other countries and you realize, no, they're one of the all-time biggest bands. They had the Olympics theme song that they wrote. The hits never stopped. The stadium tours never stopped. When did you first learn of that Americans kind of only saw 2 or 3 hits from a-ha and didn't follow it like the rest of the world did?
Well, we knew, that they kind of lost the US already after the first album. Even The Sun Always Shines on TV, which was big in the UK, and their first number 1 in the UK and only one number 1, was not such a big hit in the US. And then Cry Wolf was the last song that charted in the US, so they didn't even chart with the first single from the second album.
Right.
So and then it didn't even happen with the James Bond song. So
yeah.
So it's not a surprise to me that in the States a-ha are seen as a one-hit wonder band. That's and of course all of them would have liked to do more in the US, and they tried even with the rock albums at the end or beginning of the 90s were also a way of trying to break America again, but in a new way with totally different, a little bit more like Depeche Mode did, becoming a rock band and then getting an audience, but they weren't so keen on touring at that stage. Both Morten and Magne had gotten children already, and so touring the US, like touring probably also Couch, or I don't think they were ready for that. So
right.
So they didn't, they didn't build an audience like rock bands usually do, and therefore, it didn't happen. And then when they returned in 2000, there wasn't, the US wasn't ready for them. But still in 2009, they could do New York and fill 3 nights. And now they can also do LA and probably New York again. But, you know, if they want to have a new big hit in the US, they have to, you know, be smart. And I mean, they could have done it, you know, if they weren't so stubborn, because they already know personally both Max Martin and Stargate.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, they have all the choices in the world. You know, if they wanted to really want to break America again, they should work with one of those. They even did it with Max Martin, you know, on Analog. So why not do a whole album with him? I don't know. I don't understand those guys.
But at the same time, that's not the first huge Norwegian band for that to happen to. TNT is another example of a band that's huge all over the world. And then, you know, the last US tour was 30 years ago or something like that. So not the first time, not the last time that our music market has fallen behind on great music. So congratulations again to you on this great movie. Was the hardest part of it getting the music clearances?
No, that wasn't the hardest part. It was, you know, we didn't get it for free for sure, even though the band, of course, see a value, and also the publishing and the record companies see
Right.
some kind of value having a film like this. But also, you know, they don't know in advance how good the film is going to be. And also they want to keep, at least for some songs, or especially one song, they want, you know, to keep the market price. But, you know, all in all, we got a very fair deal using so much music. I think that's fine. So the hardest thing was to get those guys into the studio.
How much of the overall story did you know before you started doing the movie? For example, there's some bands, if I was going to make a documentary, I already know the whole story and where I'm going to take it. And then there's other bands where once you put the camera and the light on them, they go, do you want to know what really happened? And then your whole story is shaken up. Which one was it for you?
I guess I knew, let's say, 75% of the story already. There were some new elements that came up, especially around the foot of the mountain thing and the song that was cut and all of that. That was totally new to me. And that was good to get something that was totally new into the film, because there was a book about a-ha in 2003. And that was the first time the conflicts were highlighted, you know, and really talked about. And then they talked about those conflicts in the press in all the years following that book. And often, you know, just kind of almost bragging about how difficult it is and how different they are and everything, or, you know. But I think what at least the critics have said and is that, you know, you get deeper into those conflicts than ever before, and that you kind of understand them better because you kind of hear about some conflicts, but you're not sure exactly what those conflicts are. And also many have said that they feel for all three, you know, that they are in a difficult position, but you don't feel like he is the villain and he is the nice guy. They, you know, you kind of understand all three. And that was important for me because I have the same feeling, you know. I think a-ha is a-ha because of those three individuals, and it wouldn't work without all three. And, you know, it's so important, you know. Yeah, I really wanted to make a film about all three as individuals and not just about the band. And if that has worked out, I'm happy.
You should be very happy and very proud, because you told the story that when you said that you knew 75% of it and you still had stuff to learn, I think that most people watching it did not know 75% of that. So you did it very well. At the very least, take my compliments, but this is far from your only major credit. You're always working. What's next?
Well, you know, it would be fun to actually make the film I wanted to make. but that's a film about the recording of a new album. But it's not going to happen for this new album, because now they are doing that, recording just the performance of the songs. And for me, a film would have to be all three together, actually making the songs and developing the songs together. And maybe that's never going to happen with Har. Maybe they, in 10 years time, they are so old that they have forgotten everything, and they just the only thing they remember is this filmmaker that helped them, become even bigger, hopefully. And then they call me again. I don't know, but maybe with another band, it would be great, or to make that kind of film. Or and I have different ideas, but I'm mainly a producer, so back to the day job to produce other films, and then we'll see.
So this band experience has not scared you off from future band related projects?
No, not at all. And I'm not even scared off by working with a-ha again. As Magnus says in the film, all people that work with us get, exhausted by working with us. But I'm still good to go for another 6-7 years.
And then over to you. This I couldn't figure out, because when in doing my research, I saw you talk about the movie Let It Be, which arguably is not a real official documentary because it's been deleted, and now they're going to redo it with the new Peter Jackson thing. Do you have a favorite music documentary of all time besides this one about a-ha?
The Metallica film is hard to it's and that reminded me because in the 90s I tried to make a film. I tried with 2 different bands, and I couldn't get the financing for it. So then you get a million other things to do. And then when I saw the Metallica film, I thought, oh, now the film's been made. That was the film I wanted to make, kind of. And then, I had other things to do. And then when a-ha made their 9th album, in 2009, Foot of the Mountain, that's when I got the idea to follow them recording their 10th album, but the problem at that stage was, Magnus said it was a good idea, but just one problem: we're not going to make a 10th album, so we're going to split up. So then in 2010 they split up, and you saw the show yourself, and then when they came back together and made that 10th album, it happened in secrecy, and they forgot to call me. So, and now with the 11th album, they're so exhausted from having me around. So I guess it's going to be the 15th or something.
Well, like they say in your favorite music documentary, your lifestyle determines your death style. That's such a bad lyric, but that's some kind of a monster documentary, to talk about that for a second. That's an interesting predicament where the fans love that, but that also kind of ruined the image of what Metallica was. Your documentary doesn't do that. Like, yes, people's truths come out, but you don't come away from that going, man, I don't like those guys. Was that a lot of work for you to make sure that the personalities were still intact, yet you were pleasing the fans at the same time?
I didn't think it was that difficult, actually, because separately, when you deal with each of those members, they are really nice people, all 3 of them, really nice, really, I have to say, they are caring. Of course, sometimes they don't want to be disturbed. It's natural. Sometimes they can be a little bit jealous of each other. Actually, when we, is this film more about Morten than me? and they are, and they have their and also some didn't want the conflicts to be too exposed in the film. But in the end, it wasn't hard to make a film where I hoped, you never know, but I asked a lot when we had test screenings, which character do you like the most? And I would say that 90% said, I like all 3, and I kind of understand all 3. And some might have a favorite amongst the 3, but without kind of hating the others. But, and those favorites would be all 3. Some thought that Morten was so much less strange, because, you know, in Norway especially, Morten has a little bit of an image of having, you know, sometimes talking about things that nobody understands. So he has a little bit of an image of that. And the other two, of course, what surprised some people was that Paul is quite anonymous, you know. Doesn't talk too much in interviews, and some were a bit surprised that he was such a boss in the beginning. But still also sympathized a lot with him when he was kind of taken, you know, dethroned after the comeback, and the other two, you know, put in much more force on how the band should work together. So yeah, so I think, but you know, when you make a documentary, you go in, you know something from before, but you go in and you try to, you kind of collect things, like if you go in the woods, and then you go home and you try to find out what you've got. And when making a film, I think it's really important as an ethic, you know, to tell what you saw, you know, not to make the film you wanted to make before you started, and not to make a film that is actually not true to what you saw and what you experienced when you were there. And that's what I've tried to do.
Tried and succeeded. So congratulations again, Thomas. Looking forward to your next film, whether or not it is about a band. Thank you so much for your time, man.
Okay, thank you.
Paltrocast.